And when we're thinking about the idea of reminiscence, I'm going to turn to Simon, who has a particular passion and expertise in virtual reality. And Simon, I was just wondering if you'd like to talk to us about some of the ways that, the virtual reality technology may have opened up new possibilities for reminiscence and supporting people with memories.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Susan. Morena, everybody. It's really good to be here. And I think just building on some of the points that Alistair made, really, virtual reality it's an amazing technology, and people on the Hui here may have had a go or seen it in various guises, but it's just, I guess, reiterating that is a tool to be used amongst the human connection. It's not an isolated technology that we advocate for being used on its own. It's all about prompting conversation. It's all about creating shared social experiences for the positive benefit of, people living with dementia or people at risk of isolation, for example. And so, to kind of give some context of how it works, and maybe with a story, because I find sometimes it's maybe the helpful way to bring it to life. So, when I first started working with Redever, which is the virtual reality provider, so I went to visit a residential care home they were working with, actually in the States, and they told me about a carer told me about a gentleman that was living there that had advanced dementia, was very withdrawn, and was at high risk of isolation and the health complications that come with that. And so, what they were able to do in terms of connecting with him was to use virtual reality to actually help him visit places from his youth. So actually going back to the neighborhoods where he grew up, and that was really positive in terms of prompting that conversation, having more specific memory recall, and then sharing that with Fano and other members of the community. Now, the cool thing that they told me about in particular was that they found out that this particular guy was a Yankees baseball fan, and they only knew that because they had taken him to the places in through virtual reality. And then they were able to take him to the middle of Yankee Stadium and give him a really profound experience, which really encouraged that conversation. But the best thing about the story is that they didn't know he was a Yankees baseball fan before that. And so they were able to find other Yankees fans within the community. And then that became the cornerstone of his social life for the rest of his life. They would watch the games together. They would essentially form a Yankees club. And so, for him, that sport connection was particularly meaningful. But with virtual reality, it sort of offers a limitless range of experiences of all different interest areas and passions that can be identified and shared, for the sake of positive mental and social health. And there's a lot of evidence as well. Virtual reality is not a new technology now, so there's quite a large academic research body behind it. And fundamentally, the immersive nature of VR. So, the fact that you're actually taken into, you're bringing the outside in essentially, has shown to have significant effects, and more so compared to other forms of communication in stimulating memory recall. And I think the really interesting thing about that in particular, and sort of building again on some of the previous speakers, is you can reignite memories that potentially seem locked away through the power of actually taking somebody to that place. And so other residents, carers, and even Fano might not know these memories about a person, and you get these wonderful conversations and increased communication that comes off the back of that, and then subsequent increases in depression scoring and other positive kind of metrics around health. Yeah.
Oh, it's just so fantastic, and I think one of the things that may be different than what we imagine for virtual reality is that when you're working in some of these settings, that different people can be seeing the same thing with the person, so that it can be this shared experience, and they can see what the person is responding to, so that it's not a kind of shutting yourself off into your own world. It's actually you're coming into the world together, which is quite different, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's a misconception that virtual reality is an isolating technology. I mean, you think about maybe the teenager in their bedroom kind of having their own, world and trying to get them back into the family and having a chat. Well, I certainly have my own kids, and there's those type of challenges. But no, very much it's not about that. It's about providing a tool within the recreational therapist toolkit, within the carer's toolkit to help prompt conversation. And then there's many use cases for VR. So in this field. So, it could be for that reason for encouraging social participation. So we might arrange a group social experience. Let's all go and travel to a different place together and have a great time doing that and have conversation and reminisce about maybe the times we went to those places. Or it could be more of a one-on-one therapeutic type of use case. So with VR, we often see our partners using it in for stress relief. So, another quick example, one of our partners in Christchurch told me that they've been using it with a gentleman who's an ex-farmer, and every afternoon he gets routinely upset because he wants to make sure his animals are locked away, having done so his whole life as a farmer. And so through VR, they've been able to film the process of locking the gates on his farm with his family present in the video and actually provide that comfort to him through a VR experience. And it sort of in that particular case negated the need for medication in the evening and provided that calming experience. So that's quite a different, more acute dementia care example. But there's other things too. Pain distraction therapy, is quite well founded in VR now. And also acute things like insomnia care as well can be useful. So there's a lot there, but yeah, probably I'll pause there. Or I'll probably run out of time for you, Susan.
No, that's fantastic. And there's just someone actually put in the same comment that I was going to, that Carolyn has said that what can be so cool about technology is the way it can be personalized. And in terms of being dementia friendly, that's just such a core. So that it's not a one size fits all. It's that you can be personalizing to the person's life story, to what their needs are, to what their loves are, their joys are, and that's really special.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, we recently did a pretty significant research study looking at the use of VR with people living with dementia, sort of over 350 participants in the clinical trial, so pretty sizable.
Wow.
And one of the key findings that we found through that research was the more personalized you can make the experience, the more impactful it was on the output, which was essentially improved mental health. And that particularly manifested itself in more conversation and more positive conversation with carers and family members. So
Wow.
yeah, personalization is definitely very important.
Yeah, and I think, for there's lots of nodding going on from people who have experience in the field because that message, that personalization makes things work better. It's not just VR. There's not many things we wouldn't say that was true. And we've just got Winifred just saying that she has personal experience on the impact that Redever can have on reducing loneliness and stimulating cognition and how it can make it easier for diversional therapists. So that's so cool. And Chris is just wondering about the provider. So we'd just like to say that again, that you're Redever and
Yes.
that we'll be providing the link into you when we send out the information after the session. So thank you so much, and such lovely big messages coming through, as well as such an intriguing technology. And I